Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Or actually, this is the first episode of my new podcast, the Sideline Access. My first guest is Daniel. How do you say your last name?
Laubhan.
Laubhan. Okay, where's that from?
It's German.
German. Interesting. Nice. Okay, love it. So I'm
Yeah.
here with Daniel. He does photography and video for Ole Miss football and women's basketball. And I just can't wait to talk to him, get to know him. And at first, I want to kind of start off, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Daniel Laubhan. My government name is Daniel Tyler. And I am a junior at the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. Majoring in integrated marketing communications, minor in business. I kind of started my creative career in high school. I think that's sort of been like the consistent theme around a lot of the people that I know. Um, and yeah, I do photography for our football team. I'm a photo intern for Ole Miss football, and I do a mixture of photo and video, in-game editing, various other things for Ole Miss women's basketball, which is a ton of fun as well.
Awesome. So you said you got into it in high school. Do you remember that moment that really hit you when you realized that's what you want to do?
Yeah, so for me, it kind of like growing up, I always kind of had a passion for like telling stories, and I always had a passion for being able to like explain things to people. Like I remember being 8 years old making like Minecraft videos on my dad's phone, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I think the first time I had experience with like photography specifically was in eighth grade when like I picked up my mom's old DSLR camera and I took pictures at Thanksgiving, and it just kind of went from there. And then like in eighth grade, we had like a multimedia club thing at my middle school. Shout out Mr. Zaragoza. And that was my first real introduction to like video production, and editing and stuff like that. And I thought that was super cool. And so kind of from there, I just turned that into a career in high school. Because in high school, I was an editor for our school newspaper, Rampage, and I held that position for 3 years. And one of the things that I kind of did, being like a student journalist in high school, was I took a lot of pictures. And I feel like just as my time progressed in high school, I really gained a lot of confidence with telling stories, but I didn't really take it seriously until my junior year when I got a lens, like a really nice lens for Christmas. Took it to um, boys basketball game. Um, Took some pictures of some of the players, and the rest is history. That kind of became like my identity junior senior year of high school. I was Dan the cameraman. That was like some of the names I had. And I just feel like that experience was really good, and it really provided me with a lot. And yeah, I would say that just became like a big avenue for my success. And then, my senior year was when I started getting into creative video specifically. And I think just having that experience, being able to work with various different people, and finally doing some work outside of my high school. I shot the Illinois basketball state finals, that following semester, which was like a insane experience for someone at that age. Like you're down at the University of Illinois, and they're a really big basketball arena. I don't know, but I think just those experiences collectively kind of told me like, okay, this is what I want to do, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Was it somebody in your high school that got you into the videography side of things, or did you kind of just decide on your own that you wanted to?
Uh, Kind of. So I think, you know, that football season, my senior year, um, I was very photo heavy. I did predominantly photo. I experimented with video a little bit at the beginning of the year, just kind of on my own for fun, but I didn't really take it seriously until the final game of the season, um, which was against a really big school called St. Ignatius College Prep. They had a really good team that year, and they traveled to us for that game. And I remember after the game, I looked through their social media and I saw, hey, they have some really great photographers there. And then not too long after that, I got introduced to a creative at St. Ignatius who I saw making a lot of video content at a really high level. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I could do that. I have that. I'm a very like, if someone else can do it, like I can do it. Like, that's always kind of been my
Absolutely.
mentality. Yeah. So I just think that, I reached out to him, him and I talked a little bit about it, gave me some recommendations on like, cameras and things like that. And then, I mean, that was kind of like the jump start I needed to get my start in the video side of things is, that seeing other people doing it and thinking, wow, like that's really cool. Like, it's a new avenue for me to sort of tell a story, which is why I do what I do. So I think I just got really into that. I got really interested in that, and it just sort of went from there.
Awesome. And I think a big part, so we're kind of talking about, your high school career and how you really got your
Hmm.
start in video and football. I think another
Yeah.
big part that is very essential when it comes to talking about high school is that college prep. And that's a very stressful time. When you were
Yeah.
thinking about what college you wanted to go to, was your forefront in your mind kind of where would I want to film at, or was that kind of on the back burner?
No, that was on the back burner. So something about me in high school, I was also a volleyball player in high school. I played club volleyball for several years. It was something that I really enjoyed. So, when I started looking at colleges, one of the first things that I thought about was, can I play volleyball there? So I think at the very beginning of my college search, it was, can I play volleyball there? But also like, how are the academics? I come from like a very academic family. So like initially some of the schools I was looking at were Tulane, Northwestern, Notre Dame, what didn't get into any of those. But then when that didn't happen, my mentality shifted to, okay, can I play volleyball like at a D3 level or something like that? So something about Ole Miss, I actually transferred to Ole Miss.
Okay.
Um, so in high school, I started, reaching out to college coaches, and I was going the sort of student athlete route. And photography, videography was just kind of a hobby to me at that point. I just sort of thought of it as like a fun thing I can do on the side, you know. So out of high school, I ended up committing to Emmanuel College, which is a small Division III liberal arts school out in Boston. And absolutely love my time there. Great, great people. I was on their men's volleyball team. I did fall ball with them. And after that, what's it called? After that fall semester, um, I kind of realized, I had this realization. I'll get into that at a later point, but to go back to your original question, I'm kind of all over the
No,
place.
you're fine.
Yeah, I would just say like it was a focus of mine, but I was thinking about it in high school more so as like a student journalist thing.
Yeah.
Like in high school, I really wanted to get involved in like the school newspaper and go there because that was something I was really good at in high school. So that was kind of my focus in sort of the extracurricular side of things. It wasn't necessarily like the creative video side. I wasn't very plugged into that when I was filling out applications. That was more of like a spring semester later down the road after I committed sort of thing.
Right. So something that kind of stands out, it's something that a lot of people are going to face, which is obstacles through life. And your
100%.
original goal was to be a men's volleyball player at some of these top name schools that you were naming, and you said you didn't get into any of them. How did you kind of deal with that hurt and pain, and how were you able to look forward?
Yeah, well, just to clarify, um, for those bigger schools, I was looking at that in like a club perspective. Men's volleyball, I was not like, to be blunt with you, like I was not good enough, even close to good enough to play D1, D2. D3 was like the only opportunity I had. Just, so at that level, that was more of an academic thing. And the volleyball thing was more of like a D3 thing.
Gotcha.
But getting into that though, the recruitment process for me was very like I guess unorthodox for me. I was very much like a third string, bench guy in high school. I was the glue guy. I remember a lot of like my club teams that I played on. Like I was always, kind of like the guy that people would like, root around, I guess. And I feel like I did a really good job at supporting people in those roles. But I had this intrinsic feeling in me like, man, like I don't want to give up volleyball. Like I want to continue. So my recruiting process consisted of me reaching out to a ton of college coaches and trying really hard to sort of get in with them. And ultimately, I landed three offers, two D3s, one JUCO, and I did some visits to those schools, and at the end of the day, I just kind of realized, like, man, like, when I went to Emmanuel, spent like the whole day with the team, on my recruit visit out there, spent the whole day with the team, met the coaches, sat in on a class, and I just kind of like I had the best feeling about that inside. Like I was like, man, like this is home. Like I can picture myself here. I can picture myself with these guys. Like I'm gonna have a really great time here. Like I felt that like intrinsically going to Emmanuel. And then literally we had that visit. After that, I stopped doing volleyball visits. I still had a couple like academic visits. I wanted to check out like Mizzou, some other schools. But literally, I came home, canceled my visit to Mizzou, and I was like, nah, I want to go to Emmanuel. And then I waited a little bit, thought things through, gave gave our coach a call, and was like, hey man, let's do it. So yeah, that's kind of how that process went. But I think just going back to your point about rejection, I think that it's one of those things that just you talk to any college athlete and they'll tell you it's one of those things that just kind of comes with the landscape. I think especially in my position, like I can't tell you the number of coaches who I emailed. I'd sent them like my recruiting profile, on like NCSA, and I would see coach such and such from such and such school viewed your recruiting profile. I'd never get a response from them, and it was one of those things that I was like, well, every time I email a coach, like I'm opening up another door, right? I'm opening up another opportunity for something. And I figure at some point, like someone's gonna give me a chance and I'm gonna get something out of it. And I did. So I just kind of stayed positive. I kind of kept my head up. I didn't let it beat me down too hard because I knew I had good options regardless. But it was just, something I really wanted. And, that's just who I am. Like if I want something, I'm gonna do everything I can to get it.
Exactly. And that's a good point. I think it's so many words you've kind of said the whole
Hmm.
process of, you have to be an advocate for yourself. And that's what's going to get you far. And I think with with that personality trait that you have and just who you are of being a go-getter and being like, I'm going to keep trying, even though all these doors are closing in my face, there's going to be a whole nother door that's open.
1,000%.
One of those doors was Ole Miss. So let's kind of talk about how
Yeah.
you got there.
Yeah. So Ole Miss, before I started getting really heavily recruited for volleyball, Ole Miss was a school that really stood out to me. I remember I got to a point in like December of my senior year where I was like, well, I really, I want to go SEC. I want to go to Bama. I want to go to Ole Miss. I was looking at some other schools. There was a school in Ohio, Denison, I was interested in, but like I knew like Bama, Ole Miss, SEC, like that's going to be just the most fun, experience for me. So my dad and we did like a little road trip. We visited Bama, visited Ole Miss, and when we visited Ole Miss, there was a campus tour starting. When we pulled into campus, we were just like, "Hey, can we join?" We didn't sign up or anything, and the tour guide was just like, "Yeah, sure." So we got a tour of Ole Miss. Really, really liked it. We came back that spring for um like an actual like senior visit day thing. Um, great experience. We got to meet with people in the School of Journalism, met the director of their student media center, um, met all those people, toured Oxford too. Just felt really, really good about it as an opportunity. The way that my dad always kind of described it to me was like, look, you get the resources, right, of a big school, but you get that like small school feeling too. Like I can walk from one end of campus to another end in like 15 minutes. And I feel like something not very common that's something I wouldn't have gotten if I went to Bama.
Yeah.
So getting more into how I ended up at Ole Miss, I commit to Emmanuel, right? And I do my spring semester there, like not spring, my fall semester there. Um, great experience, really good people. I worked for our athletic communications department. I did mostly video content for them, but I also did like some freelance stuff for teams individually. Did a ton of stuff for our women's volleyball team because our men's volleyball coach was also the women's volleyball coach. So, that was something that was a great opportunity for me. I really loved the volleyball side of it. At the end of the day, though, what it came down to was um, that winter break. Um, my dad always stayed a big Ole Miss fan. I still had Ole Miss football followed on my Instagram and stuff like that. What it came down to was my dad and we went down to Atlanta for the Peach Bowl because my dad was like, Daniel, Ole Miss is playing Penn State in the Peach Bowl. Like, we should go check it out. And now looking back, I'm pretty sure that was a veiled attempt me to like subconsciously want to transfer. Even though I wasn't something I was considering at the time, but you know, I I went to the Peach Bowl, and we got like sideline club seats. So the seats there's like a sideline club at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. You stand right behind was the team sideline right there.
Yeah. Mhm.
And while I was going down there, I was like, man, I'm gonna like bring my camera with me, because like I know people who have brought their cameras into stadiums like that before, and like it's worked out well for them. Like I had a buddy who did that at an Ole Miss game. He brought his camera in the stands and took pictures from the stands. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna bring my camera with me and just see what happens. So I brought my camera with me to the Peach Bowl. Um, and literally just sat in that end zone club with a bunch of other fans and just took pictures of things happening on the sidelines, and then went up into the stands and took pictures in the stands of, things happening. And obviously we won that game. Um, and I think going there, seeing that environment, the people in that environment, getting to actually see like Jackson Dart, Lane Kiffin, Quinshon Judkins, Trey Harris, like getting to actually see those guys like up close, you realize like they're just people, they're just guys, like they're no different than me. Like we're all the same age, we're all going through the same thing. But it gave me an idea for like, man, this is my potential, like as a creative, like I'm not gonna like no disrespect to the people at EC, but like I'm not gonna get those opportunities if I stay at EC. I need to go somewhere where this is just something available to me, right? So, I saw a bunch of creatives there, didn't talk to any of them because I don't know, I guess the thought didn't hit me, but like I saw them with their cameras and stuff, and I was like, man, those are the same cameras I use. Like I can do this. So literally, the day I was supposed to go back to Emmanuel, because I was supposed to fly back early for preseason. I told my dad, I was like, I don't like, I also like through all this wanted to go somewhere a little closer to home than Boston. Like I wanted to, throughout all this, I wanted to go somewhere closer to home. So it was just a perfect combination of things. Like I just had this amazing experience at the Peach Bowl. And now I'm having this experience, meeting, being in that environment. I also want to be closer to home. It was like a perfect combination of things. I told my dad, like, I think I'm going to do this. So literally that day, shot my coach an email and I told him like, hey, like I need to do this. And he was very supportive. He was understood entirely. All the players as well were very supportive. The whole EC community was very supportive of me. And I'm really grateful for that. I actually went back and visited them in January because I just, I missed them. They were a great group of guys. So that, was kind of like my moment, like I need to do this. And so, that day canceled my flight, told my coach, hey, I'm doing this. And he understood. I kind of explained to him, like, I want to be closer to home, just a perfect mixture of things. And one thing led to another. And then about 2 weeks later, I'm in my dad's car driving down to Oxford, Mississippi. And there was no guarantee of me at that point getting to work for the football team or anything. I had been in contact with one of the like interns, and that was really the only contact I had when I got to Ole Miss. But, 2 weeks later, I end up at Ole Miss, and, the rest is history.
Yeah, well, first off, shout out to Emmanuel College because I think
Yeah,
that just goes to show how special that place is for you because,
definitely.
for them to be so supportive, they could have had a different take on it and felt like you were leaving them, but instead they're in your corner and you can always go back to them. So just wanted to give them
Exactly.
props on that end.
Yeah, roll Saints.
Too, yeah, of course. And two, like now you have gotten so much experience and I've looked at your Instagram, your portfolio is amazing, first off.
Thank you.
Of course, but how exactly did you end up landing that role with basketball and football?
Yeah, so I'll start with football, just going chronologically. So football, like I said, pretty much a day or two after I decided I was going to transfer, I reached out to one of the interns who I now work with, Delaney, and I kind of explained to her my situation. I was like, hey, like I want to transfer to Ole Miss. I really want to work on the football creative team. Who do you think I should reach out to? So she gave me the contact of her boss, our football creative director, at the time. And when I arrived on campus, shot him an email. Didn't hear back from him actually initially. I waited about a week or so. So me being like the kind of go-getter that I am, and I talked to my dad about it. I was like, what do I do? And my dad was like, you should go to his office and just, knock on his door. Can't hurt. So I was like, all right. So one day, I just went to the, the football facility. I asked this lady, I'm like, hey, do you know where, this guy is? And then she was like, yeah, 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 follow me. She walks me to his office and I like knock on his door. I'm like, hey, I open the door and him, a couple other of our full times are in there. I'm like, hey, is this a good time? He's like, no. So then I was like, okay, I shot you an email. I'm a creative, would love to, sit down and have a conversation with you. He's like, yeah, 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 like write your name down. So wrote my name down on a piece of paper. A couple weeks later, I get a couple, not a couple weeks, a couple days later, I get a text. Hey, Zach from Ole Miss football would love to sit down and have a conversation with you. And I'm like, yeah, totally. So came in about a week later. He introduced me to, the team, introduced me to all the other full times. Had a great experience there, and then was like, "We have practice on Saturday. You want to shoot?" I was like, "Absolutely, man!" And literally, I like went. I left the football facility. I went back to my dorm. I like called my dad. I'm like crying tears of joy. I'm like, "Dad, I think I got it." Like my dad, he was so happy for me. Like, and then yeah, that Saturday I shot my first practice. And the rest, like I said, the rest is history. As for women's basketball, but equally entertaining. Um, so summer after my freshman year, I saw this like Instagram, like it's not Instagram, like Snap Story public post from one of the women's basketball players, Christine Iwala, and it was like, "Hey, looking for people to do content creation for Ole Miss women's basketball." I'm like, "That sounds awesome." So I shot her a DM. I'm like, "Hey, saw your note, would love to work with you guys. Here's my portfolio." She's like, "Okay, cool. I'll be in touch with you closer to the start of the school season." So then sophomore year of college comes around, and she reaches out to me, do a little Zoom meeting with her and some of the other people she brought on. And like I said, this is just with a player. And then she's like, "We have a new creative director for Ole Miss women's basketball. His name's Monte. Reach out to him to do, things with the program." So I shoot Monte an email, and then about a month later, I hear back from Monte. And Monte's like, "Hey man, like I'd love to meet with you. Let's talk things over." So I want to say in like October, November, I sit down with Monte, had a really, really good conversation with him about, sort of what we want to achieve at women's basketball and how to best tell the story of that program. And then next semester, he brought me on as his only intern. And again, with there, like the rest is history. That was how that sort of developed.
Good. Yeah. And so, too, kind of going back on a more personal level, when you
Totally.
made that transition from Emmanuel to Ole Miss, how was that for
Mhm.
you?
It was easier than I thought it would be. Like, I was really nervous, I guess, going into that because I thought, man, like I'm transferring schools, like this is gonna be so different. And like talking with my dad, like I'm from Chicago originally. So my dad was like, "Oh, like going to Ole Miss is gonna be like a big culture shock for you and stuff like that. It's the South, like it's very different down there, stuff like that." Um, but then like when I went down there, literally I walked into my dorm, right? I like unload all my stuff. I go over to the room next to me, and there's like eight, nine guys in that room. And we ended up just chopping it up the rest of the night. And like I immediately like knew people.
Yeah.
So I think having those people around me really early on and having like a group around me really early on, like everyone wanted to know, like, where'd you come from? Like, what are you doing here? Like just it's that kind of thing. I think that really helped a lot having, those guys who supported me early on when I didn't really know anybody here. Because when I came to Ole Miss, I really did not know a single soul at that school. Like I didn't know anybody. So I think it was really cool to like meet people as soon as I got on campus and have them kind of show me the ropes and tell me, these are the cool places you should go to, and these are the teachers you want, like stuff like that. I didn't even like I really didn't even I hadn't even registered for classes when I like touchdown in Memphis. I was really on the phone with my academic advisor on a bus to Oxford, sign up for classes. So it was a very like I was really jumping into the deep end. But just having those people around me and like you've probably heard Lane Kiffin talk about this in his like podcasts and stuff, but like it's honestly so true. Genuinely just this town and like the people here, especially the students, like Southern hospitality is real, man. Like, I mean, I'm sure going to Clemson, you can like attest to that. Like,
Yeah.
Southern hospitality is real. Like, people are just nicer down here. They're more welcoming, especially if like you're new, you don't know anybody. Like, it's very easy to like get involved and like find a group of people. Like, I also made the decision that semester to join a fraternity. And because of that, I literally was meeting people from fraternities my first full day on campus. Like my first full day, that following day after I touched down in Memphis, I literally spent like an entire evening at my fraternity's house, just chopping it up with guys. And I was like, man, this feels so good. So I
Yeah.
think just having those people gravitate to you the moment I landed on campus, like that helped so much with just easing my nerves and helping me sort of feel like, okay, there's people around me who are gonna like show me the ropes. Like I feel like that was a big part of that experience that made the whole thing feel so much better.
For sure. And that's just part of life too, no matter where you go. It's one thing to have a really cool job like what you do, but you also have
Right,
to have that, that aspect of having a personal life and being able to meet people that are going to be in your corner no matter what and
right,
show you the ropes of just life in general. So I'm really glad
right.
that you found that so early on as well. What do you
Mhm.
think is the biggest takeaway that you've had at Ole Miss?
I think it has to be sort of from the career standpoint. I think I have learned so much about being a creative at Ole Miss because up until I got to Ole Miss, I was completely self-taught. Like I was not a camera nerd by any means. I didn't know what shutter speed was. I didn't know what ISO was. I didn't know what any of that stuff was. All I knew was point camera action and take picture, right? So I think going to Ole Miss, like I learned so much about being a creative, like as a career, right? And like, as a job. Like literally getting to meet guys like, my boss Fisher in athletics. That dude, like him, Lynn, my other boss, like they are so, so talented at what they do. Like they taught me so much about how to be a good creative. Zach as well, like he was the creative director when I was there. Like the three of them taught me so much about how to be a good creative, how to understand cameras, how to understand how to take a good picture, but also like seeing the work that they did, running this gigantic brand, like it made me it made me gain a greater appreciation. It really opened my eyes to like how this is a career for people because like I feel like being in such like, in high school and at this really small school, like I didn't get that angle of it. So like being in college, I got a way bigger appreciation for the amount of work that goes into this, the things that they do. And it just made me realize like, man, like this is a real opportunity for me. Like I can make something out of this. So I think that was the biggest takeaway for me was just those opportunities and being so, so blessed and grateful to be around such talented people who have, both by directly teaching me things, but also just by being around them and just seeing the way they do things, like has taught me so much about being a creative and how this can be a career for me and how it's really firmed up in my head, like what I want to do with my life. So,
Sure.
going into Ole Miss, like I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but like seeing them and what they do, I'm like, man, like this is awesome. Like, so I think that's a big part of it for sure.
For sure. Do you feel like there was ever a time before that connection that you felt kind of like, I guess, imposter syndrome being with Ole Miss?
Um, I would say like right when I started, I definitely felt a little bit of like imposter syndrome just because, like I said, I was taking a big jump. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, because here's the thing, like I said, I really didn't know what I was doing when I went like that first practice. I think about it pretty often. That first practice that I shot with Ole Miss football, like I had an idea of what I was doing, but there was so much like I don't know if you've ever been like in a college football practice environment. Like there's so many things happening simultaneously. Like it's just a lot to take in. It's a new environment. It's a steep learning curve, but like I kind of realized like, man, like this is the environment I get to be in. So like I'm gonna make the most of it. Right. So I would say like that first practice and those first couple like recruiting shoots that I did, like I definitely was like, man, this is so like different from what I've done before. This is so like organized and professional and stuff like that. And you know here's a great story. I think if there are any other creatives watching this, they'll be able to relate to everything I'm about to say because I'm going to use a lot of photographer lingo for a second here.
Okay.
So when I would call so the way I would call my photos when I originally started out is I would literally open up Finder and I would just like command highlight all the ones that I liked and I would drag and drop those into Lightroom, not Lightroom Classic, and edit them in there. But then when I got to Ole Miss, I was like, Adobe Bridge, like what's that? I could just go through and just rate the ones I like, and then I drop those in the Lightroom Classic, throw the preset on there, adjust it a little bit, make it look cool. So like I really did not like I had very minimum, photographer IQ when I arrived at Ole Miss, but like just being around them, I've learned so much and I've really grown a lot as a person. So I think that's been a really cool opportunity, just being able to be around those people, be around that environment, right? And
Sure.
soak all that knowledge in. Like you got to be a sponge in that environment.
For sure. So we have a few minutes left, but I want to
Sure.
ask you some rapid questions.
Totally.
So the first one I have, I think when I think about photographers and creators and that thing, I feel
Hmm.
like everyone kind of has their own personal style. What are you looking for
Totally.
when you're shooting?
I look for emotion. Those little moments, those little quiet moments that I feel like aren't necessarily as well shown that still tell a really cohesive story, right? So seeing athletes' reactions, the athlete as they run out of the tunnel, praying in the sidelines, like because everyone's gonna look at the picture of Trey Wallace catching a touchdown, right? Or like Xavier Harris getting like a big sack or something like that, like those are the loud moments, but I like to focus on sort of those quiet moments in addition to all the game action that I think really tell a cohesive story. And like, I'm a big sucker for detail shots too. Like just those little things that again tell the story because that's ultimately why we do what we do. Like we're storytellers.
Absolutely. And what
Hmm.
do you think has been your favorite, or I guess most memorable experience at Ole Miss?
Oh, that's a hard question. There's a couple. So I did some freelance stuff for the Daily Mississippian, our school newspaper. One game I will never forget is men's basketball versus Tennessee. We beat Tennessee. That game was so much fun. Fans rushed the court. I was there. I can't talk about Ole Miss without talking about the Georgia game. I mean, that was just electric, beating the number two team in the country. I would say this season, definitely the South Carolina game. That was a big win, and I feel like I just personally shot really well that game. The LSU game, 1,000%. I mean, that was a big like revenge game from the previous year. That was a big grudge match. That was super, super fun. That was like the game I feel like Trinidad Chambliss really like cemented himself to. Um, I would say my first away game that I shot this year at Georgia, that was just unbelievable. I mean, I'm so thankful for that opportunity. It was super cool, but it's hard to pick one. So, but I think those are like my top, couple ones.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Not being able to pick, that just means that you've had 1,000 memories to keep with you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I also want to ask you too, what
Hmm.
advice would you leave with someone else going through your shoes who may be in high school or even just a college student who might want to get into photography and just doesn't know where to go?
Yeah, there are two things I would say. Number one, just don't give up. Like, understand the amount of opportunities that this industry can unlock for you, and just keep pushing, refine your craft, find someone who's better than you and like go to them for advice. Whether that's like the seasoned photographer who's on the side of your games, or it's just like another high schooler and you see his stuff and you're like, oh, his stuff is really cool. Just find someone who's better than you and sort of shadow them, understand how they do things. YouTube University obviously is a big one, especially for me. But just don't give up. Keep pushing, keep seeking out those opportunities because at the end of the day, like there are going to be so many opportunities for you in this industry. I would say another big thing, and this is more of a college, but also big in high school for sure, is network. Like network a lot. It is like at the end of the day, this industry is entirely who you know, and it's those relationships that you build with people in various places. Like there are so many opportunities that I've had as a creative that I would not have had if I didn't just know the right people. So I think just being able to, I make it's like a goal of mine. Every game we play in any sport, I always make it my goal to talk to I always make it my goal to talk to at least one creative on the other team because I want to grow my network. I want to meet people. I want to, have those relationships. Like this is a really cool industry because of just the people involved. Everyone's very supportive of each other, and that's something I think is really important. So just network, talk to everybody, and be there when eventually you get to the point where people are reaching out to you, help them, support them, because that was you once. Like, I thank God every day for this opportunity and just being able to be in the position that I'm in. And I think I'm just extremely lucky to be in a position where there are people reaching out to me now. So I think that's such a huge part of it is just being open and talking to people.
Right. So my last question, it's not as what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as traditional, okay? But so it's
Hmm.
gonna require a little bit of thinking. But I want to ask,
Yeah, go ahead.
what's a question that you would want to ask your future self, and how would you hope your future self would respond?
It's a really good question. That's a great question. Okay. I would say Uh, does it have to be like photography related or just
Be
general?
anything, anything.
Okay. How have you been able to help other people and magnify their experiences? I think that's a good like midline between photography and what I do and not because The reason I would ask him that is because like we're all storytellers, like photographers, videographers, graphic designers, social media, everybody. Like we're storytellers. We do what we do to tell a story of these people, these experiences. You can freeze that moment in time, you can relive it. And I think one of the big reasons that I do what I do is it's really cool to see those relationships with people when they are like, man, like I did that and you got that shot of me. Like, I think that's really cool to be able to sort of tell that story and help other people amplify their own experiences while also benefiting you as a creative. So I think one of the biggest questions I would ask him is just like, how have you been able to effectively tell that story? How have you been able to help people in their journeys the same way they've helped you in your journey? I think that's a really big part of it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. It's clear that you have a really great heart. I know you're going to go so
Appreciate that.
far, and I follow you on Instagram now, so I can't wait
Let's
to
go.
see what life has for you and just to continue to see you succeed. But to everyone watching, I hope you really got something out of this, and thank you so much for your time for being here.
Thank you so much.
All
Take
right.
care.
Hello, everyone. It's Sky here. I just wanted to come on and give you guys a quick thank you for watching. And if you guys enjoyed this, please stay tuned for the next few episodes. And I can't wait to bring you guys along with this journey. We have so many cool new people coming on soon. So stay tuned. Bye. See you next time.